Hey everyone, and welcome. We're going to tackle a term you've probably heard thrown around a lot: data governance. Now I know, it sounds super technical, maybe even a little boring. But stick with me, because it's actually all about one simple, crucial thing: making sure an organization's most valuable asset, yep, it's data, is something you can actually trust and keep safe. So let's dive right in. All right, let me start by asking you this. Think about all the data your organization has right now. Is it a powerful asset? Like a perfectly organized library where you can just walk in and find exactly what you need, no problem? Or is it a bit of a chaotic liability? Kind of like that cluttered garage where you know there's good stuff hiding in there somewhere, but it's just impossible to find. And honestly, it's kind of risky to even go digging around in there. Yeah, the difference between those two scenarios, it's night and day, really. On one hand, you've got data chaos. That's where you see data breaches, constant errors, and just a ton of confusion. But on the other hand, with data order, well, that's where you get security, trust, and real clarity. And that's exactly what data governance is for. It's the framework, the blueprint that helps you build that bridge from total chaos to perfect order. Okay, so how do we actually build that bridge? Well, it all starts with creating a clear, simple rulebook for all your data. All right, here's the official definition for you. Data governance is basically the big picture framework. It's the collection of policies, procedures, standards, and this part is absolutely key, the roles that are assigned to manage data from the moment it's born to the moment it's deleted, the whole shebang. And the end goal? It's pretty straightforward, really. Just make sure that your data is always accurate, totally secure, and something you can actually, trust. To make this a little less abstract, let's use an analogy. Think about a school. A school has super clear rules for everything, right? How exams are graded, who gets to look at student records, how attendance is tracked. Data governance is, well, it's pretty much exactly that, but for an organization's data. It's the set of rules that lets you manage your information with that same level of care and responsibility. Okay, but you might be thinking, why bother with all these rules? Is it really worth the effort? Absolutely. So let's talk about the real payoff here, the key objectives. And what's awesome about these goals is just how practical they are. This isn't just about being neat and tidy for the sake of it. We're talking about minimizing very real risks, like, say, encrypting customer data so it doesn't leak. It's also about compliance. Following laws like GDPR isn't a suggestion, it's a must. And maybe most importantly, it's about increasing the actual value of your data. When your data is clean and trustworthy, you can make way better business forecasts. It's a game changer. So, we've covered the what and the why. Now let's get into the how. How does this all actually work? Well, a really strong governance framework is built on a few key pillars. First up, and you could argue this is the most important pillar of all, it's people. It's all about people. You have to assign clear responsibility. Otherwise, nothing gets done. And that's where two really important roles come into play. You've got your data owners, who are the big picture, strategic decision makers, and then you have your data stewards, who are the folks on the ground, the hands-on caretakers of the data. Let's go back to our school analogy for a second, because it works perfectly here. Think of the data owner as the school principal. They set the high-level policies, they have the final say. The data steward, that's your teacher. They're in the classroom every day, working with the data, making sure grades are entered correctly and the attendance is spot on. You absolutely positively need both for the whole system to work. Okay, our next pillar is data quality. Now this one might sound kind of obvious, but you'd be surprised how often it's overlooked. It is so critical. You've all heard the saying garbage in, garbage out, right? Well, it's cliche for a reason. It's 100% true. If your data is a mess, any decision you make based on that data is going to be a mess too. Governance is what sets up the processes to keep that data consistently clean and reliable. So what do we even mean when we say high-quality data? Really, it just boils down to asking four simple questions. 1, is it accurate? Is it actually correct? 2, is it consistent? Is it the same everywhere it shows up in our systems? 3, is it complete? Are we missing any important pieces? And 4, is it timely? Is it up to date, or are we basing huge decisions on old, stale information? And here's a perfect real-world example of why this matters so much. Imagine a customer's address is different in your billing system and your shipping system. You can see the problem, right? That's going to lead to delivery nightmares, angry customers, lost packages. It's a direct hit to your bottom line. And all of that chaos stems from one simple failure in data quality. Moving on to our next pillar, data security. This one's pretty self-explanatory. It's all about protecting your data from getting breached or accessed by people who shouldn't see it. Here's the key distinction. Governance is what defines the rules, like who is allowed to see what information. Security is what enforces those rules, using things like encryption or even physical controls, like a good old-fashioned lock on the server room door. And running right alongside security is compliance. Look, organizations don't operate in a vacuum. They have to follow external laws and industry standards. It doesn't matter if it's GDPR in Europe, PICA in Pakistan, or any other regulation out there. These rules tell you exactly how you have to handle data. So data governance is the internal playbook you create to make sure you're following all those external rules. Last but not least, let's have a quick word on metadata. I know, another technical sounding term, but the idea is actually super simple. Metadata is just data about your data. The best way to think about it is like a library's card catalog. The card doesn't contain the entire story of the book, right? But it tells you who wrote it, when it was published, and exactly where to find it on the shelf. Metadata does the exact same thing for all of your data. Okay, so we've got our pillars, we've got people, quality, security, and compliance, but where do all these rules and roles actually come into play? The answer is simple. Everywhere, across the entire life cycle of your data. Think of the data life cycle as the journey every piece of information takes. It all starts with creation. That's when a new customer signs up, for example. Then that data moves into storage, and then it's put to usage for things like analysis. Later on, it might get archived for legal reasons. And then finally, when it's no longer needed, it's securely disposed of. Data governance is what gives you the specific rules for each and every single step of that journey.
All right, we have covered a ton of ground here. So let's wrap this up and boil it all down to the most important takeaways you need to remember.
So here it is, the lightning round recap. What is data governance? It's managing your data responsibly. Simple as that. What are the goals? To reduce risks, improve quality, and make sure you're compliant. And what are the key parts? Well, it's all about having the right roles, the right policies, and managing that whole data lifecycle. Look, if you only remember one thing from all of this, make it this simple little formula. Governance equals rules plus roles plus responsibility. At the end of the day, it's not really about the fancy technology or the complex processes. It's about people. It's about giving people the power and the framework to manage data the right way.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. Every single day, your organization's data is telling a story. It's a story about your customers, your products, your biggest wins, and your toughest losses. The real question is your governance strategy actually listening? Thanks so much for joining me.